tank destroyers, tanks, big guns started moving up, and at 11 o'clock that night they started firing on this mountainside, and we took 2 high explosive shells to 1 white phosphor. The white phosphorus would burn them out if it hit them, and the high explosives would blow them. So we fired on that for quite a while. Next morning they sent the infantry up and couldn't take it because they had dug deep holes in the rocks, and they had their guns embedded in rock and the like. So that's the reason they went to the Anzio beachhead and was going to go to Rome from there. And they finally, before we went up there to Anzio, they took, I think about, I forget how many bombers, a whole swarm of them went over and bombed Casino and blowed that monastery all to pieces because they figured that's where the Germans had a hideout there. But we went on to Anzio, and the Germans could hit any place in it with their artillery because it wasn't a very big beachhead. But the guys that dig holes in the ground about so deep, and anything they could find to put across it, and then put about a foot of dirt on top of that, and they lived in the ground. And it was sometimes damp and not so good, but they finally, on I think it was June the 4th, we started out and broke out of the Anzio beachhead, and we went into Rome. That was an open city, and it hadn't been bombed or anything. We stayed all night in the big park and took off the next morning, and the battle went on north. Lots of fighting go on, lots of mountains. I know at one place we took ammunition up. Most of our driving was at night, so the Germans wouldn't shoot at us or bomb us. And we'd come to a place that it was kind of a higher elevation, and that afternoon it come up with snow, and it snowed real hard, and them poor little old Arab kids running around there naked, shivering, and they was having fun too, but they said that it hadn't snowed there for 20-some years. But we were heading back home when it was dark, and I was driving this old half-track, and one of my helpers was sitting on the gas tank right behind me. And we was going down the road real slow, and he said, "Sarge, you're going straight ahead?" And I said, "Well, I guess so." He said, "Well, stop and let me off." And on up ahead there, about 100 feet, it was the road made a sharp turn around, and over on the other side there was a cliff about 100 feet high. And he had good night vision. I didn't really like him, but he had good night vision. We got along fine. But when we got up to the Coal River, the engineers had built a bridge across, and we went on from there. And from there on, the Germans were getting short of gasoline and stuff, and they weren't as strong as they used to be, but they still had some pretty good skirmishes. But we finally had them wore down to where they finally surrendered, and we were in a town called Vercelli when the war was over, and we stayed one night there, and then took off